So back to the more substantive topic or issue that we intend to look at this morning, and which has to do with the big event that happened in ASSIN North, where the NDC's James GYAKYE QUAYSON emerged the winner in a very convincing and in a very emphatic big win for the NDC. Now, as I did indicate, there have been all kinds of conversations that have come up since the victory of James GYAKYE QUAYSON as to whether he was the one who won for the NDC, or was the NDC that won for James GYAKYE QUAYSON. And some have even asked whether that conversation should even be done at all, because James GYAKYE QUAYSON stood on a political platform. But some political analysts feel that that differentiation must be made. It'll be interesting for me to pick the thoughts of my reps this morning on that. And also, if you look at Charles Opoku of the NPP, he pulled about 42-point-something%. In fact, it's dropped compared to the numbers that the NPP got in 2020. So what are the factors that may have accounted for this massive win for the NDC's candidate? And is there some kind of does it give some kind of is it a foreshadow or a foretaste or a harbinger as to what is likely to happen in 2024? Some have drawn correlations between the two events. Some say there's no correlation at all. So we'll try and examine all of that when we speak to our political science analyst to tell us what he thinks about this election, and from where he sits, what strategy may have worked for the NDC and what strategy did not work for the NPP. So joining me this morning is the hardworking national youth organizer of the NDC, George Opare Ado. He's also a private legal practitioner. He's joined us this morning, taking time off his very busy schedule to join us, and we appreciate his being here because he actually has a flight to catch, but he can't say no to me. Definitely, he can't. So he's here. Josh, good to see you, Santa.
Good to see you too, my Santa Clausian brother.
And it's always a pleasure having you here. And I appreciate that because, as I said, he has a flight to catch, but he's been able to squeeze us in between his very busy schedule. So we're happy to have him here. And also the man who I'll say is perhaps, you know, the biggest talk in town, perhaps one of the most wanted posters at the moment in Ghana. That's Mr. Musa Dankwa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, where all his predictions have come to pass. I'm wondering how much pressure he's coming under from the politicians, whether MPs, somebody wants to become an assembly, whatever. But whatever it is, he's one of the most sought-after posters in Ghana at the moment. Musa Dankwa, it's good to have you too, sir.
Nice to meet
you
again.
Thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
All right. Now, we will be joined shortly by Mr. Kwabena Sapon. He's a member of the New Patriotic Party, and he will be joining us shortly. There was a bit of some traffic issues, but he should be here in a few minutes. We'll also be joined by Dr. John Osai Kwapon. He is a research fellow with the CDD, who has some very strong opinions to express on the ASSIN North by-elections, and of course walk us through what he thinks is a strategy that worked for the NDC and what didn't go well for the MPP, etc., and whether he also feels there's any correlation between what has happened to 2024. Now, first of all, I spoke to Mr. Benef Singh because, you see, the issue about polls, the authenticity, the validity, the reliability, the dependability of polls came up when Metro TV was bringing a live coverage of the NDC's ASSIN North by-elections. And when that came up, our production team got through to Mr. Benef Singh. He had actually predicted that the MPP was going to win massively in ASSIN North, but that turned out to be not to be the case. And so we called him up to ask what may have possibly gone wrong. Let's watch, in fact, let's watch and listen to what Mr. Benef Singh said when I spoke to him. So, first of all, can you confirm what was widely reported, that you said that the MPP's Charles Opoku would win these elections?
It is true. I said that, and I got it wrong.
How does
the margin that Quayson has won seems to be even bigger than the margin he won with in 2020. Even though the EC has not officially confirmed, the difference I'm picking up is nearly 6,000 votes margin difference. And in 2020, he won with about 2,500 votes difference.
Now, how did you get it wrong?
Oh, you can get it wrong. We did work mainly in the swing region.
No, but
In the swing
he may not be
polling
entirely
station,
wrong.
The swing area.
Our
And
internal
I think that
polls for the
we got it
first
wrong
2
because
weeks
you do representative
give the NPP a
sample.
clear lead.
You can't do every polling, every voter. So in the polling business, in 22 years, I don't have 100%. In 22 years, I've got 83% right. So when you do polls, you get it wrong. You find out what went wrong. For example, in 2016, I got it wrong. In 2020, I looked at what happened in 2016. I perfected my art in the general election. And 2020, I said Mahama will lose by 500,000 votes. He lost by 514,000. And I said NDC will get most of the 32 seats they lost. They won 30 of the 32 seats. So when you go and you get it wrong, you assess what happened, then you move on. I mean, in 20, you don't need a license. And if it was an easy field, I'm sure many people would have been interested in also doing polls. When you get it wrong, you assess yourself, find out why you got it wrong, then you continue.
If there's any one useful lesson that you intend to learn from this experience, what would that be?
Oh, you see, what people don't know is that the most difficult of polls to do are single events like by-elections or party executive position elections. They are the most difficult because if you are doing party chairman or party general secretary, you will have to get the delegates to talk to. If you are doing general elections, you look at the polling station results and work. You don't do research in an area where a party has won 65%. It's a waste of your time. You look at the polling station results and work in areas where the two parties get between 40-45%. These are regarded as swing areas. So the more difficult ones are positions of executives in political parties and single event by-elections. So we'll still do them and try and perfect the art of polling by-elections and of polling party executive positions. You see, when at times I get it wrong and people say why, I get a bit humbled. I'm not perfect. It's an art of trying to get into people's minds and what they will do. So maybe the over 23 years, 83 years, 83% perfection, they have high expectations of me. And I think that it shouldn't worry. I will look at where we went wrong and move on.
But Mr. Benefson.
Stop polling.
Okay. Mr. Benefson, Bridget here. I want to find out, when do you think things changed for Mr. GYAKYE QUAYSON in this by-election?
You see, if you realize the NDC, in course of our monitoring, were very smart. Especially when question was started. They said, you know, if there are by-elections, your roles will get done and you will get gifts. So you vote for him. When he's even jailed, there will be another by-election. You get those goods. Do you understand? So that, I think that, like Kumewu, people saw roads being done. People saw both parties paying. In ASSIN North, the roads were being done. So the neutrals will obviously, I mean, the two parties are not daft. They will go and try and give gifts to areas which vote 40% plus.
Okay.
And they know that, look, if we vote QUAYSON and the trial starts in July 4th and he loses and he's convicted, there'll be another by-election, there'll be another goodies to come.
Okay.
All right, so that's myself and my colleague, Bridget Otu, talking to poster Benefson on how he got it wrong with his prediction as far as the ASSIN North elections were concerned. He was very optimistic that he was very positive that the MPP was going to win, but it turned out not to be the case, and he's been the talk in town. What's happening to Benefson's polls, but that's just by the by. Let's now go straight to the point and deal with the vexed issues about How did the NDC pull this off? Because we saw clearly what was a case of state machinery that had moved to ASSIN North to make sure that they did everything possible to make sure that the MPP won the elections. But before again I come, I'm told that I have some sound bites to play. Just briefly, about a minute. NDC MPs have been reacting to the by-elections. Let's watch them and then we'll come back.
I think this is a protest vote against the poor performance of the ruling government. So it didn't depend much on our trick. It's a wake-up call for the government to know that where he is going is not what Ghanaians want him to go. If you look at all the Afrobarometer report, all the global info solutions, Ghanaians are losing interest in the performance of the government. They are losing interest. Government institutions are all performing low. If you look at the performance of Electoral Commission, performance of independent constitutional bodies, performance of political parties, performance of the governing party and the MPP, Ghanaians are not happy. So we were sure that once Ghanaians are not happy with the performance of the government, come what may, victory was going to be ours. And clearly that is what has happened. So government should take this opportunity to make sure that there is a U-turn in most of the negativities in the governance architecture of the country. And that is what I can say.
All that I'll add is the government has failed. Because initially they said e-levy has come and gone. And they said now IMF too has arrived. But still, so they have totally failed. And not they are losing interest, they have lost interest. So they should start packing because 2024 will not be in their favor.
Ghanaians are now becoming discerning, and they know very well that if you are in government and you bring them money, largesse, for a vote, it is their money. It is part of their money. It is the tax that they pay. And so, irrespective of the money you bring or the largesse you shower on them, they will still do what is right, what is in their mind, what they believe in. They will still do that. And exactly that's what the electorate of ASSIN North demonstrated. They took their monies, they took their largesse, they did everything. In fact, the government did everything for them, but they still believe that justice must be well served to GYAKYE QUAYSON, and which they did. But by and large, we also went into the hinterlands, preached to them the things that are happening in the country, the economic situation, where Nana Akufo-Addo governance has brought us as we speak now. We have also spoken to their conscience to extend that they know definitely if they vote against GYAKYE QUAYSON, so many bills and laws and etc. may pass under the bridge, which may have repercussion on their lives. So they did justice to that.
Predominantly, ASSIN North is a rural setting, and so we worked with them. We went to the villages, slept there, ate with them, and did everything with them, and we demonstrated to them that indeed we are for them. QUAYSON also adhered himself very well. He adhered himself to the people. He really was with them, and so it was not difficult. We talking to them for them understanding it. One critical thing that we also realized, the infrastructure, I'm a road sector person. You saw there was some road construction in that area. The quality was poor, the timing was bad, and some rural areas who were, tagged as pro-NDC, they never minded them. I wish, or I would have recommended to them, grade all those rural areas. You don't grade some and leave some. So I think it was clear that we were going to win. And that is a signal to everybody. Let's take good care of our people, especially the rural areas, the cocoa growing areas, and they're all neglected. We demonstrated to them, and of course, everywhere, Ghanaians was watching that. We really were with the people, house to house. We demonstrated that NDC is ready for power.
All right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages. So you had some MPs in Parliament expressing their thoughts about the ASSIN North by-elections, which went in favor of the NDC. Let me come to Mr. George Opariado now and ask him about, first of all, George, once again, it's good to have you here. So this was your seat. You've retained it. So what? I've heard some people ask. What's the big deal? Oh, sorry, your mic is off. Yes.
There is no big deal. We've never said anywhere that it's a big deal that we've won ASSIN off. We knew we were going to win. We knew we had a very good candidate, one who was credible, one who was adored by the people, and one who the people knew what he stood for.
Right.
Also, the NDC saw ASSIN off as a test case for our march for it for 2024. We buried our differences, united our ranks, and everybody within the ranks and file of the NDC went with us to ASSIN off. But most importantly, let me give credit to the good people of ASSIN off. We did all that we could do, but if they had not accepted our message, if they had not agreed to go with what we were telling them, we would have been back here licking our wounds. The people knew who GYAKYE QUAYSON was. And let me emphasize that even though it was a collective effort, if you don't have a very good candidate to sell, it is always difficult putting out your message. And so everything you said about GYAKYE QUAYSON, the people admitted and said it is true. And also, even before he became NP, he had done a lot of philanthropic works within the community. Almost every community I visited, if I'm not exaggerating, you will find something that had been done by GYAKYE QUAYSON.
His footprint.
His footprints were all over. Right. So it was very easy telling the people why they should support GYAKYE QUAYSON. The other issue too is the persecution that the people believed had gone on, right. The injustice. And one other thing that also did a trick for us was when the president stood in Breku, where GYAKYE QUAYSON comes from, and said, would you want to vote for somebody who will go to jail? I believe that that statement irritated the good people of Breku, because GYAKYE QUAYSON is one of them. And if you know his history, I understand his father was a very prominent man in Breku, right. One who had touched many lives. So for a son of the soil, a son of the land, to suffer such acts of persecution, because the people saw that he was being persecuted and not being prosecuted. And so if the president of the republic, who is a lawyer, so-called human rights activist, mounts a platform and says that this man is going to go to jail, innocent until proven guilty. So what happened to that? It irritated the people. And on the evening after the president's rally, we held a vigil in Breku, and that crowd was an organic crowd, and GYAKYE QUAYSON spoke to his people. I want to believe strongly that that is what helped the NDC win. It's not too much of a big deal, but it is a big deal to the persecutors who felt they were persecuting such an innocent man.
I see. How do you respond to people who say that it was James GYAKYE QUAYSON who won the elections and not the NDC? And that the NDC's strength in ASSIN North was not sufficient enough to have won you the elections, but for GYAKYE QUAYSON's own personal attributes. How do you respond to anybody who says that?
That is not entirely true. Not entirely true, because the data doesn't support that assertion. When the seat was created in 2012, the NDC won it. It wasn't GYAKYE QUAYSON who was our candidate. And if you look at the 99 polling stations that they have in ASSIN North, the NDC consistently have won about 45 to 50 of them from 2012 when the constituency was created. GYAKYE QUAYSON brought value to the ticket in 2020, and in 2023 his value increased because of all that he had gone through. But truth be told, with or without GYAKYE QUAYSON, the NDC is capable of winning ASSIN North, because 2012 was clear. 2016 was an abnormal, because in 2016, I keep saying that the things that worked against the NDC, even very good candidates struggled. So you cannot use the 2016 performance of the NDC as a benchmark to reach certain conclusions. GYAKYE QUAYSON, we are taking nothing away from him. He's a good candidate, he's marketable, you're able to sell him and the people buy. But that doesn't mean that without GYAKYE QUAYSON, the NDC cannot win that. No.
You were the field marshal. You were the captain of the army, and I hope I got that correctly. Did you go into this election with a mindset that ASSIN North is a swing constituency or is our strongholds? It's a safe seat. And so, you know, when you're going into an elections for a safe seat, it's a different strategy. Swing region, how do you call it, a seat, it's a different strategy. What was your mindset going into this election? Because as we speak today, there are some who feel ASSIN North is a swing constituency because the NPPs won it before in 2016.
The whole central region is swing.
It's swing.
Exactly. So when you are going into every election in the central region, you just need data to guide you. Let me take this opportunity to commend the Central Regional Election Directorate and the ASSIN North Election Directorate. Before we even went into the constituency, they had captured enough data for us.
I see.
And that is what guided our planning. What they had done, I'm yet to see any comprehensive reports coming from any of our election directorates.
Okay.
They had given us polling station per polling station, results from 2012 for the NDC, for the NPP, people who did not vote, absentee voters, all for 2012, 2016, and then 2020. They had also captured the data in such a way that you could tell which area, which group of people were found within each community.
Okay.
And what kind of livelihood they were used to. So it made planning very easy for us. So when you pick the data, and I keep saying that, in the 21st century, politics is not about you shouting "Choboy."
Right.
It is about data and using data to the best of your ability.
Basically, it's very scientific.
Very, very scientific. So before we even went into ASSIN North, we had come to a conclusion that from the organization's department, we had come to conclude that it was winnable based on the data that was before us.
Okay.
What we needed now to do was to deploy the right strategy to win ASSIN North, and we deployed. On this day, our strategy came superior to that of the NPP. And that is how come God was merciful enough to give us the victory we sought.
The other question I've heard people ask is that when you heard posters like Ben Efson, I mean, he's been around for a very long time, he was emphatic. He said the NPP was going to win. And then you had Global Info Analytics that said at the time that the polls, they were launching their polls, the NPP were in a lead, 1%. But of course went ahead. And I had the executive director who's here, and I'm not holding brief for him, he said, even though they were leading, if you mine the polls, if you do an analysis of the polls, it is most likely that the NDC was going to win the election. So basically they didn't end, by saying that, well, the NPP was leading and that was it. They said NDC was going to win, and I heard him. In fact, it's been widely reported. So when we want to come back to you, he will tell us how that happened. But did it discourage you in any way? Did it make you re-strategize? Did it make you say, hold on, guys, look, this is what the polls are saying. Let's re-strategize. What was happening?
I am a politician who believes in science and data. And let's not crucify Mr. Ben Efson, because for the first 2 weeks, our internal poll suggested the NPP was in the lead.
Really?
Yes. And so...
You mean first 2 weeks after the Supreme Court had declared that the election was not involved?
Exactly. So even when we went into ASSIN North, when the EC fixed the data, we went into ASSIN North, our poll still suggested the NPP was in the lead.
Interesting.
For various reasons. And I'm not going to delve into the reasons.
Right.
But the good thing is that when you have this polls, it gives you an opportunity to sit back and analyze the situation critically. Mm-hmm. And that is what we did in the NDC. Uncle Ben may have gotten it wrong this time, and he's gotten many of them wrong, and it's okay. Because you see, voters are unpredictable, especially voters from the central region. And so when you are running and conducting polls in the central region, you must be very careful.
Right.
What they'll say to you today, they may end up doing a different thing tomorrow. Even for us internal politicians, when we are strategizing into going into our internal elections, I have always gone into the central region with a different strategy, because it's a very difficult region.
Right.
Your money will not win in central region. They vote on various reasons, so you must understand them to be able to predict them right. When Global Info came and said GYAKYE QUAYSON, Charles
was leading by 1%.
was leading by 1%. I strongly believe that they based their reports on the last rally of the NPP.
Right.
And rightly so, if I'm not mistaken, I thought I heard Mr. Musa put it out.
Right.
What they didn't know was that that same day when the NPP was having their last rally, we didn't go and do big rallies. But that same day in Dasami, a town next door, we had gotten the Hollywood celebrities and some Ghanaian stars who had come to support GYAKYE QUAYSON and the NDC to play a football gala with the town folks. So that whole rally you saw, I can tell you that the Dasami community was not part of that rally at Breku.
Who were those were there?
A lot of people were buzzed in there, but that is none of my business. And then in the evening when their rally was done, we organized a massive vigil in Breku Township. At the time we were organizing the vigil, I'm sure Global Info Analytics had already put out their results.
True.
And we were privileged enough to have His Excellency, the former President, John Dramani Mahama, address the vigil. And he told the community what they needed to hear. Also, our national chairman spoke at that vigil, and then James GYAKYE QUAYSON himself gave an emotional statement at that vigil. All this may not have featured in any of the reports because it was late and their reports were coming out Monday morning.
True.
And we believe strongly that that vigil and that football
It
gala
was a game changer.
not entirely, but then it contributed significantly to the victory of the NDC.
So was the vigil a strategy response
Exactly.
to
Is it when you
the
have
outcome of your research?
when you have a veteran politician like Esiedun Ketia leading the charge, you should be rest assured something like that was going to happen. When we were planning for the D-Day strategy, his question he put to the organization department was, how do we respond to their rally? And we all said, we're not going to do a big rally because we could not mobilize enough resources to mass up the numbers. And if you are not careful, so he was even of the opinion that, no, that was our general secretary who said that he was not for big rallies at this time because the perception it carries. People will look at the rally, the NPP, and the NPP was passing from all over the central region.
You have the resources to back
Exactly.
people from other,
So
other
if you
places.
don't match it, then the perception games comes to play. Oh, their crowd was not big. And people don't want to belong to the losing side. So quickly, we came up, myself and the organizing department came up with two programs. We said, okay, let them do their rally. Let's get our celebrities to play. We wanted to even play the soccer game at Breku, and we said, no, it was going to cause confusion. Dasami is just the next town after Breku. It's about 5 minutes away. So let's play our gala there. And the gala was very successful. Luckily, the team from Dasami won. And so they jubilated throughout the night. So whilst they were jubilating and having fun, right after their rally, we moved in and held a vigil. And the vigil was massive. Wow. When I got in and I saw the crowd, when my regional organizer called me and said they were starting and the crowd was too big and they had to move, I was like, are you sure? Because I didn't want to believe we could turn out the crowd we turned out. But that night, I saw that the people of Breku genuinely loved GYAKYE QUAYSON and the NDC, and we're going to retain him. The number of young people who came out, old people who joined in that vigil. And when we got to the Deba grounds where we addressed them, the sentiments, the things they were saying within the crowd, I was just walking in between and I was listening. And I knew that if God did not come on Tuesday, the 27th, there was no way the NDC was going to lose ASSIN.
At that point, you were more than certain that the NDC would win the elections.
Yes, I was certain, but I was a bit skeptical because now we needed to secure the ballot. And the people kept on telling us that you must secure the ballot at all costs. As far as we will vote for you, secure the ballot and make sure your coalition is on points. And I knew the kind of things Yamin and Co. and my good self had put together.
Okay.
And so I kept on assuring them. And all I kept on telling them was that there was nothing wrong with our coalition team. They'll collate your results for you. And we give you our word. We will secure the ballot, even at the peril of our lives. And that is exactly what we did.
Why did you play on the emotions of the people as a strategy? It was all about the man who's going to be persecuted. It was all about GYAKYE QUAYSON being a victim of circumstances. So you appeared, and I stand to be corrected, you appeared big on playing on the emotions of the people rather than what you would do for them.
No.
If GYAKYE QUAYSON was
that assertion is not correct. It's not correct.
Right.
We did not go telling the people of ASSIN North that we are going to jail GYAKYE QUAYSON. We did not. It was the NPP. You had heard commentaries all over from leading members of the NPP telling the people that when you even vote for GYAKYE QUAYSON, we will jail him. So we did not go playing that emotional card, no. We went telling the people what the NDC stood for, our developmental agenda, the plans we had for them, and told them what GYAKYE QUAYSON stands to do for them when he's re-elected.
Okay.
It was the people who came back to ask us that we understand that if we even vote for him, they will jail him. And our response was very simple. During these by-elections, you've seen a lot of development come your way. If there's going to be another by-election, you still stand to gain. Your community stands to benefit. So if I am in your shoes, I would rather send GYAKYE QUAYSON to Parliament again. Let them jail him. After all, I have not forced GYAKYE QUAYSON to come and contest. He himself, knowing the dangers ahead, and he has been told by no other person, by the president himself, that I will jail you. And he has decided that if you jail me, I'm prepared to be that sacrificial lamb for my people. So jail me and let that development continue, because if they jail him and he wins, there'll be another by-elections. It'll be so. And the people will still benefit. And so we did not play any emotional card. But we told the people that the processes leading to his removal from Parliament has not been fair. I am a lawyer. I strongly believe that that decision of the Supreme Court was ratepayer incurium. I still think that there were some other acts, some other laws that the Supreme Court did not avert its mind to, and so came to that decision. But it is the decision of the Supreme Court, and once the court has ruled, we respect it. But I strongly believe that if another panel of the Supreme Court is reconstituted on this same matter, trust me, they may come to a different conclusion. That is my opinion, and opinions are like...
you're entitled to it.
Exactly, I'm entitled to it.
Right.
So we never played the emotional card. Our campaign was development focused. Our campaign theme was development and justice. And justice not because of GYAKYE QUAYSON, justice because of what was happening. And you see, GYAKYE QUAYSON may be the arrowhead, but that decision that GYAKYE QUAYSON had to suffer, it can affect any of us around this table tomorrow. And so that is what we're preaching, that don't allow the injustice stand. Rather, vote for GYAKYE QUAYSON, and let's tell the Supreme Court of Ghana that the Supreme Court of ASSIN North have decided that you don't want GYAKYE QUAYSON, we still want GYAKYE QUAYSON. And let the worst happen to him if they want, if they so wish. But development was very key on the agenda. And we talked development. We spoke about the things we did between 2012 when the constituency was created. And trust me, almost every major thing you see in ASSIN North is credited to the
Do you
NDC.
think that played a role, George? Because I've heard some people say that the emotional factor appeared to have played a bigger role than the tangible project. And again, there's been mention about LGBT, which came up strongly, during the elections, and the feeling that some people actually responded to that positively, and that gave GYAKYE QUAYSON the victory that he got. Where did this whole issue of LGBT come from in the first place, and why did the NDC decide to play that up?
When your president meets the vice president of the United States and gives the impression that a little more advocacy and things will be fine. When you have minority MPs, together with some majority MPs, push for a bill on LGBT, and all of a sudden the minority MPs back out of the bill and decides that they will not support it anymore, then you should be worried. LGBT was not the only thing that came into issue. We also spoke about the EJAPA deal. And we know how desperate the NPP is in passing a lot of bills that they've not been able to pass because of the way Parliament is structured. Take it or leave it. Even though people may say that they've been able to pass all the bills they want to, it would have been a lot more worse than we find today if they had a total majority in Parliament. And so those were the issues we spoke to. We did not make LGBT the center of our campaign, no. But we told them that we were pushing for a law on LGBT. If GYAKYE QUAYSON is in Parliament, we have 137. It makes us stronger. And so that bill can pass so that we can stop LGBT in our country. And mind you, the minority MPs have pushed a bill led by Sam George for the law to be passed on LGBT. If we have 136 and MPP has 138, that law will never see the light of day. So that was how we put it. But the NPP, as usual, will not listen and find out what exactly we were saying. Decided to say that we were saying that if GYAKYE QUAYSON is voted against, is voted out.
Well, it's not returned to Parliament.
It's not returned to Parliament. Then they were going to pass the LGBT law. That is not what we said. We were saying that our bill that stops LGBT from happening in our country, if we have 137, we just have to lobby a few more to join us. But if we are in a minority, then they will not even listen to us. But when they know that we have the numbers and we can pull it off, then it makes it fair. Because initially we had NPP MPs supporting the bill. Okay. Why did they pull out?
Right.
It is because their government is not in support of the bill we are advancing.
All right.
And so those were arguments. And we didn't go say that the NPP was going to pass the LGBT law.
Okay. I'll come back to you on the extent to which the goodies that we hear were shared played a role in the elections and whether you did some. And if you did, what did you give them? And did you also ask them to swear by some oracle that if they don't vote for you, something would happen to them? You know, I'll ask you when I come back. But Mr. Musa Dankwa, let me acknowledge that Dr. Osai Kwapo is also joining us via Zoom. Doc, it's a pleasure having you on Inside Pages as well. Doc, thank you very much for joining us. Please unmute so that I can hear you clearly, sir. Okay, all right, so we'll sort it out. Well, we'll sort it and come back. But that's just to say that Dr. John Osai Kwapo has joined us via Zoom all the way from the United States of America. He's a senior, in fact, he's a research fellow with the CDD Ghana. And also, let me also say that Mr. Kwabena Sapong, a member of the New Patriotic Party, will also be joining us shortly. Dr. John Osai Kwapo, please unmute. Let me hear you say hello, and then so that I can move to Mr. Musa Dankwa.
Hello, good morning.
Great. Good morning. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Same here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, Mr. Musa Dankwa, I mean, you curiously, before the polls, I think about a week or so before the polls, you came out, before the elections, you came out to say that the NPP was leading by 1%. But you didn't stop there. You went ahead to say that the NDC was going to win. Explain to us how that happened. The man is leading, and yet you say the NDC is going to win. You know, what did you mean?
Thank you very much, Moro.
Okay, sorry, your microphone, yes.
Mm-hmm. Right, thank you very much, Moro. I think that's where a lot of media houses got our reports wrong.
Right.
We said, as at the end of the poll, Sunday, 25th April, Charles Opoku was leading by 1.1%. As you may be aware, you can start a match with the lead and end up losing the match.
True.
Just like any other race. Start the race, 200 meters, 100 meters you are ahead, the remaining 100 you lose.
True.
Now, we went against the fact that Charles was leading to say that James was going to win because of a number of factors, and most importantly, the trajectory of the race. We've been there for 4 weeks, tracking opinion in the constituency. And from that period to the last day we left there, Charles Opoku moved from 57% to 38% winning. That's about 19% margin to 1.1% lead at the last on the last day.
So even though he was leading, he had dropped.
He's dropping consistently, and to the last week.
Oh, so that confirms what George Opariado said, that the man was in the lead.
Yes. So in the last few days, the drop became rapid. Right? And you had 2 days before the election, and the slope was very steep. And our last tip, every single day that goes by was a deficit for him. So we knew at that rate, he's not going to win the race because the numbers were looking very precarious for him in the last days.
Okay.
And then also you have the possibility, which is always true for NDC voters. When you do a poll and NDC is neck and neck with MPP, it means NDC is ahead.
How do you
People
establish
who
that?
normally tend to vote for NDC don't openly disclose it.
It reminds me of something that Sir John said some time back. He said, "Where are the NDC people? He doesn't see them, but they keep voting for."
We've seen
for
that.
the NDC.
We've seen that in our polls, several polls that we've done,
Okay.
and that is, in fact, we are documenting that.
Okay.
So we have to have a rule of thumb internally.
Right.
That if we are doing any forecast that involves NDC, that they are neck and neck, we have to adjust the poll with certain margin of error, higher than what the margin of error is, because of the tendency.
Wow.
So we knew that was going to happen. And also, in particular, in Kushia, in fact, James would have led by the end of the poll if he had him in Kushia, which was the last place we did on election day. We went there on Sunday afternoon, after Nanado has left. And the euphoria in the town was a bit celebratory and that kind of thing. So we thought that that may have influenced the response we got from Kushia.
No, but
And
you keep mentioning Kushia. What's the story about Kushia?
Kushia
What's
is
the peculiarity about Kushia?
Right. Kushia is one of the strongholds of MPP.
Okay.
And then again, that is where Drua comes from.
Right.
Now, so NPP strategy was really to split.
That's the woman
the
who
former
won the
MP,
2016
the 2016 candidate.
Okay.
So the strategy was that if they bring in Charles, who is from Breku as well,
Yes.
then they could end up splitting the Breku seat, Breku vote. Then they will rack up the numbers in Kushia to compensate or to gain that advantage. And in the poll, we saw that almost 78% of people in Kushia said they were going to do that. But on election day, far less came.
Wow.
Far less of that 78% that he was winning in the poll came out in Kushia. He only got 63% in Kushia.
What do you attribute it to? Is it apathy?
Yes, apathy was one.
Right.
And two, younger voters. The poll showed that younger voters were rooting for Tasopoku.
Okay.
But these
The younger voters here, if you, in terms of numbers.
18
age bracket.
So we have 18 to 24 years.
Okay.
We're about 18%.
Okay.
And 25 to about 34 years, we're about 28%.
Okay.
Put together, we're quite big size.
Yeah.
And he was winning them by 11% margin. Whereas James Quayson was winning the older group by 22%. Now, in polling, the most reliable block of voters are the matured older voters. Okay. They always come out to vote. The younger ones are so busy doing their own thing. They will say they will vote for you, but what takes them to the polling day that day?
It's another matter.
It's another matter. And those groups didn't show up on election day. So those compounded chances problem.
Interesting. Mr. Kwabena Sapong, it was good to see you. Good morning. And
Thank you.
How are you doing, boss?
I'm fine.
From where you sit, where do you think that your party did not get it right as far as ASSIN North is concerned? And again, I've heard Nana Komia was on Good Morning Ghana Friday, and he said, as far as it's concerned, it's not a big deal for the MPP because it's an NDC seat. The NDC MP was there, but we all know why he wasn't there. And now the guys have put him back there. So really for the New Patriotic Party, it's not a big deal. Do you share in that opinion?
Sincerely do share that opinion 100%.
Okay.
I'm happy to see Doctor. I saw him yesterday on
Another platform.
Joy, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
right.
think your explanation this morning is much detailed.
Right.
And excuse me to say, a little bit better
Yeah.
than what I had. Is in Joy.
But that's what happens here on Inside Pictures. When you come here, you explain it much better. Yeah.
It shows a good understanding of
Right.
what he was doing.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to hear that.
Okay.
We have people like that who understand the pool.
Right.
Why they do the pool and the parameters that will determine the results of the pool. The guy sitting down there telling you, yes, this person is leading 1.1, but I can comfortably conclude that he may lose the election.
Right.
He's giving you reasons why he came to that conclusion. Okay. Well, let's get back to the
A
question.
substantive question.
Right. I agree with him. That's no big deal at all. It's a big deal when you are in power and you are going for a by-election and you hold that seat and you lose it. That should be a big deal. Not when you lose it, not when you are trying to take the seat away from an incumbent. So I'm not surprised at all. Nothing. Yes, a lot of people may come in and say, "Oh, there are ASSIN North. There's just like what
it's a swing seat.
Just like what the Americans will say, the shape of things to come in 2024.
Right. We'll get there. We'll get to that part of the conversation.
You know, what happened? It's not a big deal. I'm repeating it. It's not a big deal to MPP at all. And we should know MPP person should be worried about that result.
But you were confident that you'd win the seat.
Yeah, who goes to election and says that he was going to lose? Tell me.
What was the basis for thinking in the first place that you're going to win?
Answer that question.
Okay.
Who goes to election?
Nobody.
And says he's going to lose?
Yeah. Excuse me, you will be a fool.
All right.
Who do that. Yeah.
So don't ask me why did you say you were going to win?
Right.
We are going to win because we are going for election, and that is what you want. That's why we are going for election.
What was your basis for?
It doesn't make any difference whether
Right.
my basis was A, C.
Why did you think that you would win it?
Because when I'm going to election, I have to portray that I will win.
No, but you have to have a reason.
I don't have to. If I don't have a reason that I'm going to win, if I can convince myself that I'm going to win, I shouldn't go to the election.
Yeah, but it must be basis for convincing yourself.
The basis, the fact that I'm going to that election means I can win. That's what I'm going. Forget about any basis.
What factors were at play for you?
I'm not interested in the factors. You must understand I go to elections thinking that I will win. That's why I went. Period. No other reason. I win.
Okay.
That's why I went. I can sit down and do my analysis like the prof was doing. In this area, I have to do A, B, C to be able to pull out the votes. In this area, I don't even have to spend any amount of time over there because irrespective of whatever I do, I'm going to lose. So I'll concentrate in this area and pull out as much votes as I can get. Okay, the strategy that you use is fine. But the reason for going to election, I don't care. You have 10 people going for NDC presidential candidate.
Right.
You think any of them is going to tell you that he's going to lose?
I'm talking about, you mean MPP?
Yeah, no, with the 10 people, you think any of them is going to tell you that they are going to lose? Nobody, none of them will tell you that they are going to lose. They have that confidence. They got it within them. You say, I feel it, I got it here, that I'm going to win. And that's it. So let's take it like that.
So are you
going to win the elections. We lost. It's no big deal because it is not our seat. Okay? We won the seat. We've had 3 elections there.
Yes.
2012, 2016, and 2020. We won it in NDC won it in 2012. We won in 2016. NDC has won in 2020. That's fine. It's no big deal. No NPP person should be worried about ASSIN North. No, at all. It's not a reflection of anything. That is why I'm not going into details. This guy said these people went there and paid this.
That's fine. I'm going to come back to you on whether strategy gone wrong or not. I'll come back to you on that because I'd want to pick your opinion on that. But I asked George when he came, and I said, George, what was the mindset that the NDC took into these elections? Did you see ASSIN North as a swing region, so as a swing constituency or a safe seat? And he said the NDC went into these elections with a mindset that just like with most seats in the central region, it's a swing seat. And so that informed the kind of strategy that they adopted going into these elections. What was your mindset? Were you going there to say, well, it's a swing seat? After all, the president won convincingly in 2020, so it was up for grabs. We can take it. So, hey, let's throw everything at it.
Anybody saying ASSIN North is a swing seat is correct. Because there have been 3 elections. We won 1.
MPP won, NDC 2.
Yeah, they have won 1. They have won 2. It cannot be 1.5.
Yes, that's true.
so it's a swing seat.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. We wish that we could have beaten them to equal to
make it 2-2.
To make it 2-2. And then 2024, we're probably going to decide. So it's a swing seat.
Okay.
Yes. Nobody. Despite the fact that I say that we went there to win. The method that you put in place, the strategy that you adopt, can also fail or can help you.
Okay.
Okay? If I look at NDC, I'm probably coming back to answer the question that you asked me. If you look at it, I have a strong feeling
Okay.
NDC did a good job with their propaganda than we did.
You reduce this whole thing to propaganda?
Oh, definitely.
How so? Explain.
Yes, if you are in politics, you're dealing with NDC, and you don't give them credit for propaganda, you are going to lose at a certain places. They are excellent. I give them credit for that. I wish MPP we can do what they do. All right? They made it look like we are persecuting them. It's the government who is intentionally trying to get this man out of parliament. That's propaganda. That's propaganda. And it worked. It worked perfectly for them. And I can't blame them. Because that's their style. They chose that style, and it worked very well for them. All right? At times, they even went in and used the LGBT issue against us. That is also a propaganda. Okay? So you cannot fault that. To me, I believe, even though they maintain their seat, which is normal, that one helped them a lot to keep all the votes that they got, losing only about 250 or so votes. 2020 and 2023, the difference was about 200 and something votes.
That's not true. I mean, in
2020 and 2020.
In fact, they've increased their votes by close to 3,000.
No. Presidential, this vote, they got 17,000 something.
Yes.
17,004.
Yes.
In the 2020, they got 17,600.
No.
17,600.
Really?
They lost about 283 votes.
You mean they lost?
Yes, they lost about 283 votes. And I'll give them credit. Because we lost.
Oh, so you dropped more?
We dropped about 2,800 votes.
Oh, I get that.
Okay?
I get that.
They dropped and we dropped.
Okay.
But their propaganda worked so well. Very well.
Okay.
That they were able to keep, okay, their votes.
Okay. Right. No, I'm looking at Abna Drua Mensah. She got 14,000.
Yeah, that was 26.
That was in 2016. Yes. And then I come to, sorry about this, but I needed to just cross-check something, what you just said. So I get it now, because it was the NDC that won in 2020, and if you look at the votes between what the NDC got in 2020 as against what they got in 2020, there's a bit of a drop in votes.
About 280
200
or something.
Like right. So it was more to do with who dropped more. The NPP dropped more votes.
Okay.
But those guys did not vote for the NDC necessarily.
No, they did not vote for NDC either. Those guys did not vote for NDC either.
They stayed off.
See, just like if I take a cue from what he said,
right,
that we were strong within the youth, okay, and getting the youth to vote.
It's a big task.
It's a big task. When you go to Nigeria, okay, there's a guy by name what? Obi or what?
Peter Obi,
right?
yes, Peter Obi.
He was up there as far as the youth was concerned. Why did he lose? I think what this doctor said might explain that.
Right. It's not a very reliable demographics.
Right. They will support you, but getting us to the ballot box, getting Pablo and Co to the ballot box, it's a big problem.
You mean Pablo to marshal his soldiers to go to the ballot box? It's not easy at all. It's a tough
Pablo.
one.
It's
right.
not easy. You know, the youthful exuberance, they will follow you and do all those things.
Okay.
But when it comes to election time, okay. I've never thought about this, but until I heard from him. That, yes.
So for you, you're saying that for a candidate for a political party, when you have a lot of young people follow you to say they'll vote for you, you've got to be careful.
You've got to be careful. You've got to do extra work
to get them out.
To get them to the vote.
Interesting.
To get them to the vote.
It'll be interesting to pick George's mind on that, because he deals with the youth on daily basis.
They have a lot of avenues.
All right.
They'll say if I don't vote this, I've got another, there's more elections coming. But the middle age and the older one, they don't have the chances. They don't have that much time left. If they want to change, they want to see it now. If they want to change, they want to see it now.
Interesting.
So they are more likely to go to the vote, to the post and get the change they want than the young ones.
Right. So back to the issue you said. You said the NDC beat you to superior strategy.
Oh, yeah, superior propaganda. That
Okay.
is all they did.
Okay.
And I commend them for that. Please don't get me wrong.
Right. It's all part of politics. Propaganda is part of
all
politics.
part of politics.
Right.
Okay? Because whilst we were going about telling the people, we've done these projects for you, we've got about 20 projects that we've started in this area, we've completed 12 of them, we've got 8 that we are now doing, that is going on. NDC was going, don't worry about all those things. These people, this is what they want to do to your man. You took the man to parliament and they say they don't want him to serve you. That is why they are doing this. You know, and it worked perfectly well. It has so worked that if I have my way, if I'm advising the government, I have my way, I'll tell the government to stop the trial. I'll tell you. I'll tell the government to stop the trial.
Really?
Yes.
To file a nolli prosequi.
To file a nolli prosequi.
And say we're not interested anymore.
The guy hasn't killed anybody. He hasn't stolen anybody's money. He's only fighting the law. It's only the law that he has broken. Is that not so? Who is hurt? Tell me. This is not a case where somebody has hurt the country. Either stealing, killing, you see what I'm saying? Or destroying something, the state property. This case has got nothing to do like that. It's only that he has broken the law. That nobody in this country has been hurt by that person breaking the law. You see what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
Breaking the law, who is hurt? Nobody, except that the law.
What do you think that discontinuing this case will do for the electoral fortunes of the MPP?
In that constituency,
yes,
we will lose bad.
If the MPP goes ahead to prosecute him.
Bad. Okay? He may not go to jail. Because it's either if he's found guilty, he either goes to jail or he gets a suspended sentence or something.
Right.
If he's found guilty, no parliamentary life for him again. He's out of the equation.
I see.
Whether he goes to jail or not, he's
right.
out of the equation.
Right.
Okay? And if the propaganda that these guys have made, okay, if we continue on that, and it happens.
Now, before you came, Mr. Sapon, I asked George Opariado about this issue about why the NDC was going on and on about the man is being persecuted, the man is a victim of circumstances, and his response to me was that, first of all, it wasn't the NDC that took the man to court. It was a member of the MPP that took the man to court. It's not the NDC that's prosecuting this man. It is the MPP that's prosecuting him. So your problem was self-inflicted. It had nothing to do with the NDC. How do you respond to that?
Because he's broken the law. The guy who took him to court said he's broken the law.
So how did you blame the NDC for playing on the emotions of the people?
I'm not blaming NDC. I haven't blamed it.
Right.
I said they took advantage of it and made a propaganda out of it. That's what I said. I haven't blamed them.
You don't accept that you played a role in it?
I said they took advantage of the trial, the guy breaking the law and being taken to court, okay, and made it a propaganda issue, and it worked for them.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying.
I get it.
They know the reason why they did that. Maybe if they haven't done that, okay, they would have lost.
Right.
I believe they haven't done that. They would have lost. That's
Okay.
what I believe. But they worked very effectively on that angle. Abu Sakande went to court for the same offense. We didn't do anything. He even ended up dying.
Similar offense, not the same.
No, okay, similar.
Yes.
It's the same law he's broken. It's the same question. Do you owe allegiance to any other nation? And he said no. The same question. Do you owe allegiance to any other nation?
Except that in the case of Sakande, he still had his passport with him.
This guy used his passport when he applied.
He didn't have his passport. He said he had given it to the Canadian.
No.
He had given it to the Canadian authority.
At the time he applied.
He had given it to the Canadian authority.
At the time he applied,
Yes.
he still had his passport.
He didn't.
At the time, no, I'm saying at the time he applied.
Yes.
He submitted the application.
Yes.
Okay, he had
Yes.
used his passport to travel.
Application to become member of parliament.
Yes, no,
to the Canadian authority.
To renounce his citizenship.
Yes.
Yeah, you use his passport at that time.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is this. It is the same question. okay,
Okay.
that he answered no.
Okay.
And this guy answered no.
Right.
It is not a different question.
Okay.
It's the same question.
We're not going to get into that because I have my point of view.
I have my point of view set too,
okay,
and I'm
that's
prepared
fine.
to debate any
Anybody.
academic.
Okay, that's fine. But let's go. Let's come back to the more substantive issue. But I'm going to come back to a more substantive issue because I still want to ask you whether, when you look back, perhaps the MPP could have done better in terms of strategy because issues about even the timing of the projects that were reactivated. I'm going to do reactive because we've been told time and again that these were not projects that just started because of the elections and that they were there, but they've been reactivated, they were revived, and all of a sudden, we saw, how do you call it, trucks and excavators hitting the ground and all roads and things were being done. And then, of course, what the NDC terms as self-inflicted. You decided to take the man to court, and of course, they took advantage. There's nothing wrong with that. So we'll come back and look at some of the strategies. But let me go to Dr. John Osai Kwapo. Oh, sorry, he's gone off. I'm sorry. Okay, so okay. Doc, it's good to have you again, once again. Now, do you agree with the NPP that really and truly, this is not a big deal? Let's not break an egg over this. It's no biggie. It's somebody's seat. We wanted it. We didn't get it. So wait, life goes on. Or you think that there are reasons for the MPP to be worried?
If this is what happens in an election, in a by-election like this, if you win, you claim the win, and you claim you would make if the MPP had won the seat, I can bet you that this wouldn't be the narrative that they would push, which is, it's no big deal. It was the NDC seat. We won, but anyway, no big deal. No, the narrative would have been different. The narrative would have been, we won. This goes to show you that the narrative that the incumbent government or the incumbent party is vulnerable is really not true. We are still popular with the people, etc., etc. That definitely would have been the narrative. But they didn't win. They lost the seat, and therefore I am not particularly surprised that the narrative is it's really no big deal. The thing with elections like this is it gives the winner a certain sense of momentum, right? And so the NDC can rightly claim that the win in ASSIN North is a sign of greater things to come. I'm sure that if they had lost the seat, they probably would have said all elections are local. So they would have made the argument that the NPP is currently making. But when all is said and done, an election victory as well as a loss comes with certain advantages and disadvantages. If you're an incumbent party, sure, and especially in a place like ASSIN, a loss doesn't give you any kind of comfort. Yes, we are 18 months away from the next general election and all of that. But there is a certain sense of vulnerability that you would definitely feel coming off the back of a loss of a by-election, even if you don't admit it publicly.
I see. From where again you sit, Doc, what do you think did the trick for the NDC? What do you think was a strategy that the NDC mapped out or adopted that got them to win so convincingly? Because when you look at the results, the MPP had dropped close to 3,000 votes. That's massive. The NDC had dropped some votes, but about, I think, to 200 or so. I mean, you've listened to conversations, you've watched, you've read. What do you think did the trick for the NDC, and what do you think went wrong for the MPP?
I believe that at the end of the day, turnout is critically important. And you could see that both parties brought in, quote unquote, their big guns. So on the MPP side, eventually you saw the president there, you saw the vice president there, the party's big wigs showed up. And then on the NDC side, you saw flag bearer, former President John Mahama. You also saw the party's leadership there. And it became a question of whose retail politics, the door-to-door meetings, the small group meetings, etc., etc. And when you look at the election results, you can see that at least what the NDC managed to do was those 17,000 plus folks who voted for them, they were able to hold them into this by-election, compared to the MPP, who lost some ground of about 2,000 plus votes. So I think the retail politics, the turnout was critical. The NDC folks showed up, and I mean, election is a game of numbers, and so more and more people who were interested in voting for the NDC showed up than those who were motivated to vote for the NPP. I also think that in the campaign messages of the NDC, the framing of the ASSIN North by-election as partly a question of justice, I believe, also did work in their favor, right? That anytime I watch the news, anytime that I watched any of the campaign events, the NDC never missed an opportunity to highlight the issue of what they sincerely believed was an issue of injustice and unfairness. And therefore, for them, the election was also a referendum on quote unquote righting the wrongs that they believed had been done to the Honorable James QUAYSON. And I believe that message also resonated well, because if you look at some of the video clips on election day from some of the voters, you could hear sentiments being expressed that, look, we don't even care if anything untoward is going to happen to Honorable QUAYSON. He's still the person that we want to vote for. And I think these are some of the things that worked well for the NDC to pull off this victory. On the side of the MPP, as to what contributed to their loss, if you look at the numbers going from 14,000 plus to 12,000, you can see, at least in my opinion, you can see an enthusiasm gap, meaning that they couldn't get their people to show up in their numbers to vote for their candidate as much as their rivals did. And at the end of the day, I feel like the campaign messaging, the narrative, and all of that on the NDC side won the day for them, despite all the things that the incumbent party tried to do to win the seat back.
Now, the issue about LGBT came up strongly during the campaign. And the NDC's argument, as George Opariado has explained to us, was that, look, make sure that you return this MP to Parliament. It strengthens us numerically to be able to block any attempt to pass the LGBT, because then it would have been 137, 137. And he believes that the people bought into that, that message and give them some votes. Do you agree with the extent to which LGBT may have helped the NDC, the LGBT debate may have helped the NDC in these elections?
If I understand correctly, the case that he was making was that they are more in favor of the legislation than the MPP side. I'm just trying to understand if that was the argument that they were making, which was they are more in favor of the legislation and are more willing.
Which is that help us to return GYAKYE QUAYSON to Parliament so that it strengthens us better to be able to block any attempt to pass the LGBT. Sorry. So that, yes, the NDC is pushing for a law to block how do you call it? Issues about man-to-man or the issues about LBGT.
LBGT.
Exactly. And so help us get the man there so that we can advance that particular cause. Thanks for that correction.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I don't think the NPP is opposed to that piece of legislation. Right. At least I don't get that sense publicly. I know that, for example, the member of parliament from Ningo Prampram, the Honorable Sam George, who is on the NDC side, has been a very vocal advocate for that legislation. I'm not sure, or at least I don't get the sense that the MPP is opposed to that legislation. However, I can see how using that narrative in an election can actually win you votes, because if you look at some of the polling data on Ghanaian attitudes on same-sex relationships or same-gender relationships, I can see why the party that can boldly seize on the message and frame a narrative that says we are more willing to push through legislation to push back against any agenda that wants to normalize this thing can gain a much stronger advantage over their political opponents because of Ghanaian social and cultural attitudes towards the issue.
I see. I'll come back to Doc. And again, my final question to you, which I'd want you to chew on whilst I go around the table, because we have to go on the break, which is that, is this, again, the question is back as to whether this election is a verdict also on the performance of this government, or it's got nothing to do with the performance of this government, and whether it portends anything at all for 2024. I'll come back to you on that particular. You know, we talked 2 days ago when this, I think three days ago when this matter happened, and whether after reflecting you have any change of position or is the same and you have more information. So I'll come back to you on that particular issue. So please hang in there. I'll take a short break. When I come back, Mr. George Opari has some responses to make, and then perhaps he'll take leave of us because he has to catch a flight. And then I'll have Mr. Musa and Mr. Sapon who would help me conclude this conversation for today. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. We've been having some off-the-record conversation. That's not for public consumption. But I'm just saying that the WhatsApp line, if you want to contribute to this show, it's 055 30,000. So 30035. You can see it displayed on the screen. 055 30035. I have Mr. George Opariado, National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Mr. Musa Dankwa, Executive Director, Global Info Analytics, and then also Mr. Kwabena Sapon, who is a member of the New Patriotic Party. Yes, George, there was something you want to respond to.
It's just a quick one.
Right.
Propaganda is part of politics.
Right.
And propaganda itself is not anything bad. It is the way we have spewed it here in this part of our country that has given it a bad connotation. When Mr. Sapon was speaking, he says it's the NDC's propaganda.
That won the elections.
We did not do any propaganda. If you get a president of the republic mounting a very big platform in Breku and saying that this man is going to jail, what is propaganda about this? We only espouse what the MPP was telling our people or was putting out there. So there was no propaganda whatsoever. We only told the people what the realities are. On the issue of persecution, like you rightly said, it was an NPP member that took GYAKYE QUAYSON to court. It was not the NDC. And we've had leading members of the NPP make comments that are unwarranted on the issues before the courts. So if you make these statements, if you get a lawyer president, human rights lawyer, who is saying that vote for this man and you go to jail, and then we tell the people that this is what your president is saying, and immediately the president starts talking about a jail term for a citizen of this country, then clearly it becomes persecution. And that is all we are saying, and nothing else. Also, on the issue of whether the NPP have lost or they've not lost anything. Mr. Sapo makes us believe that it was an election that the NDC was already occupying, and so going into every election, you are hoping you win, and the NPP is bleeding, trust me. The amount of resources they expended on this.
How do you know they're bleeding?
Of course, because if you listen to their commentary, and if you speak to some of their people, and the kind of assurances they had, because like I told you, almost all the polls initially, even the last poll that came from Global Info Analytics, apart from the comments and the disclaimer Mr. Musa issued, it was obvious the NPP was going to win. And so they cannot sit back and pretend as if it is nothing. They are hurt. And also the bragging rights they were seeking. If the NPP had won these elections, trust me, they would have told Ghanaians to forget all the mess they've put us in. Because they would have created the impression out there that, oh, you claim we've messed up, which we all know they've messed up. But the people are still voting for us. And ASSIN North is a clear...
So which is that it's an endorsement of
their bad governance. Their bad performance.
They would have said it's an endorsement.
An endorsement of the bad performance they have given to the good people of this country. And so they are licking their wounds, but rightly so. Mr. Sapon here is an experienced communicator. You will not come and sit here and make those honest admissions. So we can excuse him and pardon him for that. Now, there are two things that I want to share. The first is the police, and the second is in respect to the citizens of this country, or the citizens of ASSIN North. Let me take this opportunity to commend the police for the job they did in ASSIN North.
Okay.
I've always said it. When you get it right, we will praise you. When you get it wrong, we will criticize you. We don't criticize you because we want you to fail. We criticize you because we want you to get it right the next time you go into the field.
Right.
When we met Dampare on Monday with his police force, all the assurances they gave us happened. And I can confidently say that if this same deployment is done in 2024, we should have a very peaceful elections. Because you see, those of us in the NDC, we are coming from elections where people have suffered fatalities. We saw what happened in Ayawasu West Wugon. We saw what happened in Techiman South. Those are still fresh on our minds. So when we are going into every election, under the watchful eyes of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, because it is only under his reign that innocent citizens have had to be shot at polling stations. It's never happened from 1992 till date, where men in uniform have opened fire at polling stations on Ghanaian citizens. And up to date, the president has not been remorseful enough to even apologize to the parents and families of those who lost their lives. It is only under his watch. So till Nana Addo leaves as president, the NDC will be skeptical in going into every election that he supervises. But let me commend the police for the role they played in ASSIN North. Every assurances they gave us, they adhered to it. I was attacked, and I'm only hoping that the young men are attacked, because the police had cameras at almost every polling station. So I'm only hoping that those who had the cameras, because when I got to the Praso Roman Catholic polling station, the policeman I interacted with had a camera. And when the people came to attack my car, I saw him run towards the car. So I want to believe he videoed the young men that came to attack me. And I'm hoping that the police will arrest them, put out their pictures like they did when the NDC went to Cape Coast for our youth conference, and then go ahead and prosecute them, just like members of my party who came to Cape Coast are being prosecuted. We don't expect them to do their pick and choose as usual. They should have proof. We gave them the car number. They can also trace from the DVLA the vehicle owner and whoever rented that vehicle. If they can't find the people, whoever that vehicle was, whoever had custody of that car should be the first person to produce the people who occupied the vehicle. It is only when we punish people for such wrong acts is when sanity shall prevail within our body
Well,
politics.
it's good you're here. Just briefly before you take Lovers in 2-3 minutes, what exactly happened? At what point did you get to find out that you had been attacked? Because it was all over the place.
No, I was in the vehicle.
Oh, you were in the vehicle?
Yeah, I was in the vehicle. So when we got to Breku,
okay,
as part of our monitoring duties, myself and my former deputy national organizer, Chief Baini, when we got to Breku, we saw a man dressed in military regalia. We drew the police attention and he was apprehended. We followed the police to go to the Central Regional North Command in ASSIN Fosu, where the young man was detained. I want to believe that it was that point that somebody who was with that group gave out my car number and the people started looking for me. So from the ASSIN Fosu, the guy was arrested in Breku. We went to ASSIN Fosu. And then when we came back from Fosu, I did not stop in Breku. I went straight to Praso, which was the last town before you enter Ashanti region. Praso had 4 polling stations. When I got to Praso, I did the first 3 polling stations. The last polling station was the DA, the Roman Catholic polling station. When I got there, I saw a certain young man on the side of the NPP. He was an agent. He had this, was it Motorola, whatever phone or something. And I saw him radio. But I did not think I was a target of any attack. But he radioed. And so just when we were leaving, we had finished monitoring, sat in our vehicles. We had 4 vehicles. Chief Baini's car was in the lead. My deputy Eastern Regional Youth Organizer, Fuad's car, was second. And then the 3rd car was my Savannah Regional Youth Organizer, who was driving a pickup just ahead of him. Then my car was behind. Ideally, my car would have been in the middle. But it was the way we parked at the polling station. So when we were exiting, I became the last car. When the first 2 cars, Chief Baini and Fuad's car, had gotten into the road, just when Inusa's car was moving into the road, the Ovan car came in. So Inusa had to stop for them to enter. When they entered, Inusa moved forward, and then I also moved. Then 3 young men came out of the car. I was on phone. And then I heard that, where is Opariado? So clearly, I raised my hand. It was not in any harsh tone. So I thought it was friendly. Where is Opariado? So I was going to roll down. Says, oh, I'm here. Then I realized that these are not people I know. Well-built young men. And then the first guy who came out took a crowbar. So I realized that, no, this is not friends. So I asked my driver to drive off. And then they came in front of the car, smashed my windshield. One picked the stone. I was in the front seat of the passenger seat in front. Smashed my windows. And then before I knew, my back glass had been smashed. It was when we left the polling, when we were leaving, that I heard a gunshot. But whilst we were there, we sped off. Whilst we were there, I didn't see any gun. But when I left, there was a gunshot. So I called my agent. I went straight to the police command. Then I called my agent there. And he said, yes, so they came. Even one of our guys was sitting with the butt of an AK-47 or a pump action. He doesn't know whichever, but he was sitting with the butt of a gun. And he was badly injured that he had to be rushed to the hospital. They went there, disrupted the processes, assaulted 2 of our agents. My deputy regional organizer for Volta region, Elliot, was badly assaulted. He was beaten. And then another member of our party was also assaulted. As I speak to you, he's currently in hospital receiving treatment. And so that's what happened. We reported to the police, and within 10 minutes, the police had massed up forces and taken over the Praso polling station.
I know you have to leave, but what was your personal bodyguard or personal security?
And you see, that's what I was saying. It happened so fast that none of us anticipated. Because it was not like there was any disturbances that people would be on the lookout. There was no incident. There was no problem.
See, I'm asking because I was under the impression everywhere you go, there's only one.
No, I do have.
Okay.
And I was saying we had 4 cars.
Oh, okay.
Even behind me. No, even behind me in my car. I had people with me in my car. But you see, we had not gone there to foment trouble. The processes had been so peaceful that nobody anticipated anything like this.
I get it.
It is when the area is volatile that they are all on the lookout. And we had been going about, I had met Kodia, the secretary of the NPP, I had met Nanabi, I had met Salam, Dominic Edia. We had spoken freely at polling stations. Even where there were flashbacks, where the police had indicated that these were flashpoints, like Gangai and what have you, it was peaceful there. I had gone there in the morning, met Nanabi there, we had interacted. So there was no thought of anybody coming to attack anybody.
I get it.
And if I had also called in for reinforcement, would have marred the beauty of the polls.
I get it.
And I believe that was bigger than that.
30 seconds. Any lessons for you going into 2024? Or do you think it's also an indicator? Do you agree it's an indicator or not really?
2024, the NDC will win. That I can say without any fear of equivocation. But it is going to be a very difficult elections. We are not going to get swollen-headed because we've won ASSIN North. Like Mr. Sapon rightly puts it, it's our seat, we've retained it. But we've learned valuable lessons, and we'll carry those lessons into 2024 and make sure we free the people of this country from this inept, dishonest, and despotic Nanado Baumia governments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's George Apariado. He's the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Thank you very much. He has a flight to catch, as I did indicate from the beginning of the show, and that's why he's leaving us now. So I'll come to Mr. Musa Dankwa, and then Mr. Kwabena Sarpong, and then Dr. John Osai Kwapong. Mr. Musa Dankwa, you're still polling.
No,
you haven't stopped polling because...
no, I mean, with ASSIN North we are done, but we are doing the national tracking poll.
Okay.
It's ongoing.
Okay. And what is it looking at?
What do you
in terms of where does NDC stand? Where does MPP stand?
No, it's like letting the cat out of the bag. It's too early to say that.
Okay, that's fine. I'll come back to you again for your concluding remarks in terms of the importance of research, in these kinds of enterprises, like the ASSIN North by-election. Dr. John Osai Kwapong, I asked about whether you thought there were any correlations or any similarities, whether there's any lessons, useful ones to learn from, ASSIN North elections from where you sit. Is it a swing? Of course, before, you've got to put it in context. Context as saying, are we dealing with a swing constituency? We're dealing with a safe seat. What are we dealing with? Does it have any correlation to do with 2024? Does the MPP have any reason to be worried going into the 2024 elections? Put all of that together and please, let it make sense.
Right. So, if you look at, and so if you notice, ASSIN North was, originally the Honorable Kennedy Jepong's seat. And then once ASSIN Central was carved out of it, then you had the three ASSINs. Since 2012, the parties have shifted, right? 2012, NDC won. 2016, NPP won the seat. 2020, NDC won the seat. And then in this by-election. So it's, the dynamics have changed. It's changed hands. So you can say that it's starting to take on the characteristic of a swing seat. One of the things that I found very instructive about the by-election was the aftermath of it, watching some of the videos where you saw some of the voters openly mock the losing candidate over alleged inducements. I said to myself, I hope that by and by, our parties and our candidates for election are realizing that whatever they offer voters in terms of inducements to get their votes, voters will take it, but voters will still vote the way they want to vote. And I always draw the attention back to the first CDD Ghana pre-election survey in 2016, where the question was asked about, inducements, vote buying, etc., etc. And one of the things that majority of respondents also said, about 4 in 10 said, look, my response is going to be, if you offer it, I'll take it. But after I've taken it, I will vote the way I still want to vote. We can't stop parties and candidates from offering inducements. We still need to find a way to deal with the role of money in our politics, etc., etc. But until all of that is cleared up, I just hope that one of the lessons that the parties and the candidates pick up from this going into 2024 is the fact that you can try to induce voters, but be mindful that they would still do what they want to do. Implications for 2024, as I said previously in my earlier remarks, I'm sure, even if they don't admit it publicly, I'm sure the incumbent party feels a certain sense of vulnerability. If they look at the attempts made through some of the efforts at ratcheting up some development projects, getting all of their big wigs to go and convince the people of ASSIN North to vote for the MPP candidate and ending up losing. Even even if the seat was already held by the Honorable Quayson and he has won his seat back. Losing an election is not comforting. And it's not comforting in a place that is competitive and in a place that an incumbent party put in time, energy, and resources to try and win the seat. And so for me, that's the connection that I make. Yes, one day is a long time in politics, and so is 18 months. But I don't think the NPP is comforted. And I don't think they are not feeling a sense of vulnerability, especially too when we are coming onto the end of this 8-year cycle we tend to give our political parties since the 1992 election.
Right. Okay. Doc, thank you so very much for your time. It's always a pleasure. Anytime we call on you, you respond to us. We're so grateful. Thank you. Now, before I get 2 minutes each for my resource persons because our time is almost up. But here's the thing. I'm just reading something on Ghana Web. Somebody sent me the story on Ghana Web that says the massive construction of roads and other social amenities that was seen in the ASSIN North constituency prior to the by-election, the constituency have reportedly ceased. According to reports, most of the contractors commissioned by the Nanado government have left project sites with their equipment abandoned projects they just started with state funds. And they said a video shared by Peace FM showed one of the abandoned road projects in ASSIN Akonfudi, a suburb of the ASSIN constituency. So essentially saying that what started has actually stopped. Let me quickly say that I'm understanding. Well, in fact, I know that the former member of parliament and illustrious son of this land, Alhaji Amadou Sorogo, a former member of parliament for Medina, is tuned in and he says hi to all of you. Alhaji, thank you very much for tuning into this show, and I want to say Eid Mubarak. Now, let me just quickly read these messages because we asked for the audience to share their opinion. They've done that. Let me read. Good morning. Moro, projects in ASSIN North is because of the by-election. Amponsa, it's not a mistake. Mr. Sapon should get it on this. Okay, we're not novices and we should not compare Adamu Sakande and Kwesi Adamu sitting in parliament with his dual citizenship. While Kwesi has renounced his dual citizenship. That's from Alhaji Aruna in Shaiman. And this one here says that it says NDC use indecent propaganda and lies that the MPP will block the anti-gay law when they know they don't oppose it. That government is perpetrating justice, justifying the prosecutor, the former Boku MP. That was not persecution. Okay. Good morning, Metro TV. The national youth organizer of the NDC, lawyer Jojo Parado, is really giving deep analysis of the ASSIN North by-elections. The NDC really have the men. From Atanga Emmanuel, aka Katanga, Ashanti Regional. Good morning, Moro. Projects in the ASSIN North is because of the by-election. Amponsa should get. Okay, I've read this. It's Governor Sapon saying that they had no basis for saying that the MPP was going to win the ASSIN North by-election, so they were just saying they would win. Oh my God, Kwekun Siam from Dantoman. And the people of ASSIN should vote wisely. Okay, this one, it's a bit late. So, your concluding remarks, sir. You're saying there's no basis to compare this to 2024. So really, the MPP has nothing to worry.
I'm so surprised that people are taking ASSIN North at a big blow or a blow to MPP. Why did they not do the same thing at Kumawu?
Well,
it's not a by-election.
Kumewu is a seat. It's
Is ASSIN not our strong seat?
No, but Kumewu is a safe seat.
No. Is ASSIN not
ASSIN is swing,
north?
so these are two different.
Is it a strong seat for us? So if it is not a strong seat and we lose it, what is the big deal? When we win a strong seat, it's no big deal. It's nothing.
So why do you think, why are party people hurt then? That it didn't go their way?
That is what I'm telling the party people. They should not be hurt. They should have courage. NDC, the constituency belongs to them. They kept it. So if you go with that analysis, then we are also going to say that we are going to keep the presidency because we are now holding the presidency. So we will do everything possible to keep it. Our people must not be discouraged by the fact that we have lost ASSIN North. Okay? You cannot discount Kumawu and say, oh, for Kumawu, when you win, it's nothing. But when you lose ASSIN North, it's something. We accept the fact that there's some hardship in the system. Nobody has denied that. The president has said it. Okay? And we believe that the conditions will improve. And it has started. Okay? In the first quarter, the government expenditure decreased by 37.2%. Prof, what does that mean? Government expenditure decreasing by 37.2%. If if we are able to repeat it for the second quarter, then means the excess budget expenditure is almost gone.
Right.
Because the budget deficit is about 40%.
I get it.
No, do you understand what I'm saying?
I get it.
That is why I am saying MPP, don't be discouraged with these results. What is on the ground, we are working that we know we will solve this, we will get out of this problem. We might not be able to go to inflation of maybe 12% as 2019, we're 12%, right? Now we're about 33 or something. It will come down. You see what I'm saying? We might not be able to get to this. The GDP growth for this quarter, the last quarter, was 4.6.
Right.
What happens if we are able to repeat it?
So basically, things will get better.
Things will get better. That is what I'm saying.
Okay, so there's no cause for worry.
There is no cause for worry at all.
Okay.
Things are hard.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, but things will get better.
Okay, things are hard. If you read the IMF in details, there are so many things that are hard. The government cannot even take a loan.
Okay. All right.
And they have put it such that
Okay.
they will measure it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
The debt increase, they will measure it by quarter. Every quarter they will measure it. It should be 0%.
Great. Great.
So that is not easy.
I get it. Mr. Musa Dankwa, you have said emphatically, just what 1 minute, because we have to go. You're saying that the MPP should not dream about winning the ASSIN North election, at least not for the foreseeable future. It's been reported. Did you say that? And what was the context?
The context is as a response to what happened in the by-election.
Okay.
And the collapse in the MPP support across the constituency.
Okay.
And where I thought they were going to do well, they really collapsed. And also the narrative that has come through from ASSIN North, and also this evidence that they are pulling the trucks away, really send a bad signal.
Okay.
But in terms of lessons for 2016...
Let me talk about the 1 minute.
2016, look, we've seen that MPP put a lot of money in Kumawu, a lot of investment in terms of getting things done.
Okay.
And they got fewer votes compared to last time. Now, can they replicate that investment across their stronghold in 2024?
That's nearly impossible.
And what would be the return?
Yeah.
Now, if you look at ASSIN North is a what do you call it? Swing constituency.
Yeah.
If we have lost such a vote in ASSIN North, what would be the situation in other swing areas?
Okay.
If that is replicated, what is the ripple effect of that? That's what they should be looking at now.
Wow, that's interesting. 30 seconds.
Yeah,
you want to respond to the issue
We did not lose
about
votes in Kumawu.
So you increase by just small amount.
A small amount, yes.
We increased votes.
Okay. Oh, I'm told the montage is already rolling, and unfortunately, the project that are seized there. Okay.
But the idea that we have moved away from ASSIN North and the projects are not going on is all not true.
It's not
they
true.
said the same thing about Kumawu. The same thing. Only for the minister to go there to say, no, the projects are going on, all the projects. And so they are doing the same propaganda at this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kwabena Sapong. It's always a pleasure having you here. Anytime we follow him, unless, of course, he can't make it, he makes time to join us on Inside Pages. My name is Aldo Moro. Thanks to Dr. John Osai Kwapong and also George Oparado, Mr. Musa Dankwa of Global Info Analytics. Have a great weekend. Same time Saturday, 8 o'clock. We'll be right back. Bye-bye.